So in this case, we are going to consider our typical questions that we can have on our factorization as you are to consider your solving of the equations. We can have different methods, as I explained before, working with the completing of the square method. Now it's a factorization that we are supposed to have. And I also explained the basics that we had from our grade 10 mathematics factorization. So this is just a continuation which we are supposed to maintain the way that you actually have been taught in terms of your factorization and also to adapt some other methods which can be used in terms of your factorization. So we are not going to waste our time here. Exercise 3, we are given to solve for x by means of factorization. So considering the first question, this is a basic question that we can consider, which is x squared minus 10x plus 21 is equal to 0 like this. So the difference that we are just seeing here is this part of an equation. When we have that equal sign to equate to a certain number, you are equating to a 0 there. You are equating to a certain number that is given. It becomes an equation. So the moment that we have the equal sign, that we are now considering an equation. We are now considering an equation in this case, which is different from what we had as this part, only this part. When we worked this part, remember we had a factorization on its own. You had to factorize that. It's an expression that we are given, the x squared minus 10x plus 21. We are working with an expression. So what are we going to do with this factorization method? It is that we are going to factorize this expression the way that we are used to. We have to factorize this. We are dealing with a quadratic equation. The highest exponent there that we see is 2. So to factorize, we are used to this one. Okay? When the coefficient of x squared is 1, as we can see in this case, we do understand that we're just going to have the 2 brackets. We equate to 0. The moment that we are dealing with an equation, the equal sign is supposed to be maintained throughout. So we're going to have our 2 brackets. We know that we're going to have x here, and we have x since we've got 1 x squared. X times x is going to give us what? X squared. Remember your basics of your factorization. What are you going to do? You are going to focus with a constant, which is 21. We need the product. 2 numbers that you can multiply. These 2 numbers, when you multiply them, they will give you a 21. Add the given numbers, you're supposed to obtain a minus 10 if you add the numbers. So meaning to say, we are supposed to apply the basics of our factorization. Remember, like I said before, this is a trial and error where you must try the numbers, the products, 2 numbers that you can multiply to obtain a 21. As we have numbers like 21 and 1, if you multiply this, you get a 21 minus 21 and minus 1. The minus 7 and minus 3, the 7 and the 3. Multiplying these numbers, we are going to exactly obtain the positive 21. But the question is, when you add, which part are you going to obtain? The middle number that you're given, which is the coefficient of x, which is minus 10. When you add each and every pair that you're given, of all these pairs that you're given, where are we going to have a negative 10? We are going to obtain a negative 10 on these numbers, minus 3 and a minus 7. If we add minus 7 plus a minus 3 like this, we are going to obtain a minus 10, which is this now. So we need that combination. You multiply, you get 21. You add, you get the minus 10. So these are the numbers. We take the numbers as they are, the minus 7 and the minus 3. So that's a minus 7, a minus 3 in each part. You have to replace those numbers that you're saying they are products of 21, but if you add, they'll give you a minus 10. So at this stage, you can also start with the bracket of x minus 3. It's not even a problem. You could have written this as x minus 3, x minus 7 is equal to 0. It's just one and the same thing, or you can write it this way. It's not a problem. Remember that in terms of the product, A times B is the same as B times A. So you can start with any bracket there. So after finding these factors and you have two brackets that are equal to 0, the product of these two brackets is equal to 0. How are we going to solve for x? So it follows that as long you are dealing with the product, whether there are two terms, there are three terms that you are given, there are four terms that you are given. So in this case, we are dealing with two terms. The product of these two terms, A times B, if it is equal to 0 like that, it follows that A must be equal to 0 or B must be equal to 0 also. There is no way that we can obtain a 0 if one of these numbers is not a 0. 7 times a 0, that's a 0. 0 times 3, that's a 0. So one of the numbers here must be 0 in order for you to obtain a 0. That's the only way to get a 0. 0 times any number, remember, gives you a 0. So it's either the first one is a number on its own, the second one is a 0, or the first one is a 0, the second one is a number on its own. But either way, one of these must be what? Must be 0 in order for you to obtain that. That is why it is only used when it is equal to 0. That is why we consider this as what? The 0 concept. So I'm just going to write this as the 0 concept. Only used when it is equal to 0. You do not use this when it is equal to a certain number, which is maybe a 6, or maybe there's 8, maybe there's 10. You cannot use this concept to say x minus 7 is equal to 6. No. Only when there is a 0. So using this concept, we are going to say this bracket, just like our A equal to 0, we are going to equate that bracket to 0. So it follows that x minus 7 must be equal to 0, or the other bracket that is remaining of x minus 3 must also be equal to 0. With this way, we can solve for x because we are simply taking the minus 7. It's now a linear equation. So the minus 7 to the other side of the equation becomes a positive. So that's 0 plus 7, which is a 7. Or our x is going to be the minus 3 to the other side of the equation becomes a positive. So that's 0 plus 3, which is going to give us 3. So these are the possible values of x that satisfies this equation that we are given. So we can use the factorization method. So this is the basics of your factorization method. So in this case, I'm not going to explain much because we are used to these basics of our factorization when the coefficient of x squared there is given as a 1. So like I said, I'm going to explain about the cheat method, how to solve. If you consider question number 2, this is the most important part there. Question number 2. We are given 2x squared minus x minus 6 is equal to 0 like that. So the same concept, remember the case here is for us to apply the factorization method. So like I said, I'm going to explain the factorization method of this part when this number is not 1. We saw that it is easier for us to factorize x squared plus 5x plus 6, something like this. Because the coefficient of x squared is 1, we just say, okay, this is x here, this is x. What are the factors of 6 or the product of 6? That when you add, you're going to get a 5. 3 and 2, you add, you put a 3, you put a 2 here. It's easy as that. But when you are given now this coefficient of x squared not equal to 1, like what we can see here, this one, it is not equal to 1. So there are actually so many ways. I'm just going to try to explain a method similar to what we had when the coefficient of x squared is 1. So that one, I'm just going to call it the cheat method. Then I'm going to explain another method. You choose which one. Do you understand? Or you just maintain the method that you've been taught throughout. Okay, what is important is that we just need to factorize this. All right. So let us just take this one aside so that we properly see our cheat method. 2x squared minus x minus 6. This is the part that I want to factorize. So here I'm just going to have my two brackets. Remember, just like let's say we've got something like this. I want us to have this so that we understand this one together. Like I said, x plus 5, x squared plus 5x plus 6. Let's say it is equal to 0 like this. You are going to factorize this, okay? You've got your x, you've got your x. Then you consider 6. Like I said, factors of 6 which add up to 5. We got a 3 and a 2. Then you're going to take one bracket to be equal to 0. So it means x to the other side will give you a minus 3. Then this 2 to the other side will give you a minus 2. It was going to be easy like that. So I want you to focus to say it was because the coefficient of x squared is 1. So you can just put x and just put x here. Here, the coefficient of x squared is no longer 1. It is not equal to 1. It is not equal to 1. But I want us to maintain this concept of having a 1 on the coefficient of x squared. So that's calling this one the cheat method. So how can we obtain a 1? This is what we are going to do. As we can see, there's a number here which is given. So what we are going to do is to take this number away, to remove this number away. Multiply it to the last term. So you remove this number, multiply it to the last term. So multiply, let me just write in short, multiply the first number. All right, well, let me just write so that we properly see what is happening. Take out, all right, take out the coefficient of x squared. The coefficient of x squared, multiply it to the last term. Multiply to the last term. Multiply to the last term, which is to the constant. To the constant. Remember, our constant is the last term. So that is how we are going to remove it. So you actually have to remove it. You have to remove that, the first, this one. 2 to the other side. So this is how it is going to be like. I want you to see. So this is going to give us x squared. We have taken 2. We've removed it. Remember, this one is no longer there. We removed this. We multiply it to the last term. So it is going to give us minus x. We multiply it to the last term. So the last term, which is our constant, it was minus 6. We multiply it by 2. So minus 6 times 2, that's a minus 12. All right. This is where you are. So I want you to practice this method so that you understand it. Okay. The first question can be something else. Do another question, then you'll see. If it is best for you, then maintain this method. If it is not, then choose another method that you can actually work with. So this is what you're going to have here. As we can see, we are back to this situation of having the coefficient of x squared as a 1. This is what we wanted. So that we can easily factorize this because we can see that the coefficient of x squared is now a 1. So this makes us to easily factorize having two brackets where we simply put our x, we put our x here, then we focus with what? The constant. Remember, your factor is as usual, minus 12. What are the products of minus 12? But these products must add up to minus 1. So which two numbers? Minus 12. You multiply the two numbers, you get minus 12. Is it minus 12 and 1? Is it 12 and minus 1? Is it minus 6 and 2? Is it 6 and minus 2? Is it a 4 and a minus 3? Or is it a minus 4 and a 3? Or is it a 4 and a minus, like this? It's a trial and error, but if you know these numbers, guys, there's no need for you to list them down like this. Yes, just for the revision sake. You add each and every part to see which one are you going to obtain what? A negative one. You're going to see that a negative one is appearing here when you add minus 4 and a 3. So we are going to have a minus 4 and a 3 like this. So this is what you're going to have. X minus 4, x plus 3. But remember that you factorized not the one that you had here. No. Please be careful there. So this is not our final answer, this one. It is a factorization of something that we created on our own. So meaning to say this is not final answer, not our final answer. This one is not the answer. Please be careful there. This one is not your answer. It is the answer to this one, not to this part that we had before. So how are we going to now obtain the final answer? This is what you're going to do. Remember, you took away the 2 here. You removed the 2. This 2 that you removed, this number that you removed. The number that you removed, bring it back. Multiply the coefficient of x. This 2 that you removed, you bring it back. All right. So these 2 that we removed this time, remember we removed it. So this time we are going to bring it back. Remember, it was multiplying the constants there. How do you bring it back? It multiplies the part of x. So as we bring back, so bring back. Okay, so we're going to bring back the 2, this number here. If there was a 5, you bring that 5. If any number that is here, you have to bring it back, but only affecting where x is. So it's on what? On x. In each bracket, we're going to put x. So this is what we're going to do. In each bracket, we are going to put, where there is x, we are going to put that 2. We bring it back. So in place of x, it's going to be 2x. This one is going to be 2x like this. So it's 2x minus 4. This one is 2x plus 3. 2x minus 4, 2x plus 3. At the final stage now, we are almost there. Okay, guys, do not worry. We are almost there. So remember what I said? You multiply by 2 to the constant. You have removed that 2. You factorize as usual. You bring back the 2 on x. So this is what you're going to do at the last stage. You look for any possible bracket where there is a common term. Factorize any part that is possible. Where factorization is possible, factor out that part. Be very, very careful on the last stage, because this is where most of you guys get this wrong. You factorize there where it is common. So factorize with the part which is common. Whenever you've got a common term, anything that is common, factorize. All right. So this is what you're going to do. Let's factorize. We can see that the first bracket there, 2 is common. This is 2x. This is minus 4. So we can factor out the 2 in the first bracket. So we factor out 2. What are we going to have? If we factor out 2, this is going to be x. Minus 4 divided by 2, that's a minus 2. Into what? The second bracket, there is nothing that is common. This is 2x. This is 3. Nothing is common there. So we're just going to rewrite as it is. 2x plus 3 like this. So that is going to give us our answer by removing the 2 that we factored out. We cancel that. This one is not part of our answer. We cancel this. So the answer is going to be the remaining part, this one. This is going to be your answer for the factorization. So in most cases, you are revising, you are using a memo, whatever that you're having. They just give you an equation like this. The next stage, they are just giving you 2 brackets from there. The bracket of x minus 2, this one, and the bracket of 2x plus 3, depending, they can start with the bracket of 2x plus 3, bracket of x minus 2, then they equate to 0. You are wondering, where are these brackets being taken from? There is a lot that has happened behind that to obtain these two brackets. It can be out of this cheat method. It can be any method that you can have. So I'm going to explain another one. But for this cheat method, guys, this is what we have. Like I said, you take out the number that you're given there, multiply to the last term. All right? Multiply it to the last term. Factorize as usual this part of, because we now have the 1. You have your 2 brackets. Bring back that number that you removed before. Bring it back. Multiply by that number on x. Factorize where possible, wherever it is possible. Factorize. You are going to have your final answer by removing any part that you factorize. It can be common in 2 brackets. Remove those numbers that you factor out. They are not part of your answer. The answers are what is remaining in the brackets. That is the most part that you have to be just careful when using this method. That's why it's called what? The cheat method. We are just cheating to bring back what we are used to in another way. Because as we are used, when this is 1, but the process now for you to do that, you just have to be careful. After that, we are back, guys. This is what we had before. So each of these brackets is equal to 0. So that's we can solve for x. So I'm going to have another example that is that needs us to apply this cheat method so that we can understand. Then we can have another method after we are done, after we have done some examples. So this is what we need from there. Each bracket must be equal to 0. Remember your 0 concept. So x minus 2 is equal to 0, or 2x plus 3 is equal to 0, which means x is 2, or we're going to have our 2x there. We're going to have 2x is equal to minus 3. The 3 to the other side becomes a negative. So you divide by 2. So our x is going to be minus 3 over 2. So these are the possible values. You can have this as minus 3 over 2 or minus 1,5. So that is the possible values of x that we are going to have. So this is, like I said, guys, the method there. Let us have it on number 3 so that you can properly understand this method here, the cheat method. Number 3, we are given, this is 4x squared plus 8x plus 3 is equal to 0. The more you do these examples there, then you see, okay, this is just basic. So like I said, the first thing is to remove what? The number that is affecting the coefficient of x squared. You remove that number, but you don't just remove it. You multiply it to the last term. So you remove it by multiplying it to the constant, So meaning to say, we no longer have a 4 here. It is now a 1. So we have removed it. So it will be x squared plus 8x. You multiply it to the last term. 4 times 3. What is 4 times 3? 4 times 3, that's a 12. So this is the product of those two. 4 times what? 4 times 3, which is a 12. That's equal to 0. The moment you do this, we are left with something that we are used to in terms of our factorization. Something that we are used to in terms of your factorization. All right. Or let me just do this so that we avoid having this as an equation. Let's just do the factorization on its own so that I do not confuse you guys. All right. Sorry for that. Okay. Sorry for that. This is number 3. That was 4x squared plus 8x plus 3 is equal to 0. Okay. I'm just going to write the brackets, the answers here. These are the answers that I'm just going to write the answers after that. So let's just do our factorization on its own here. So this is the factorization part on its own. Then we're just going to write our answers there. All right. So like I said, we multiply that. So that's a 12. Then you factorize this because now the coefficient of x squared is 1. This is your basic of what? Your factorization. So you're going to have your x and your x. All right. Considering 12, what are the factors of 12? That when you add, you're going to obtain what? 8 factors of 12, or the products of 12. The two numbers that you can use, that's 6 and 2. If you multiply 6 and 2, that is going to give us 12. If you add 6 plus 2, that's 8. So we've got plus 6, and we also have a plus 2. So these are the two numbers. But remember, I said this is not your final answer. It is the factorization that happened on this bracket. So what is it that you're going to do? You're going to bring back that number that you removed, multiplying it to the constant. You bring it back wherever there is x. You're going to bring back that number wherever you see x, wherever there's x. Meaning to say here, we are going to multiply by 4. The number there, remember, it's what? It's 4. Last time it was 2, this time it's 4. So you multiply by that number where there's x. You also multiply in this bracket where there is x. So this is 4x plus 6, 4x plus 2. Then I said, factorize whatever that is, wherever it's possible in those brackets. If there is anything common, please factorize. So there we have got 4x plus 6. Do we have anything common? Yes, 2 is common here. So you can factor out 2. That's 4x divided by 2, which is 2x. 6 divided by 2, that is going to give us a 3. You factor out, remember it's a product, there's no plus there, just write a product, it's a 2. So that's a 2. You factor out a 2 in this bracket, that's 4x divided by 2, which is going to give us 2x. Then 2 divided by 2, that is going to give us what? A 1. So as we can see, I said the answer will be the brackets. What is, are not going to use them. You throw them away. The numbers that you use, you factored out the 2 and the 2. So this is what you're going to have, guys. If you had factorized this, you're going to have these two brackets, 2x plus 3 and 2x plus 1. So this is what you're going to have, 2x plus 3, another bracket, 2x plus 1. So that's it, guys. If you expand these brackets, you are going to obtain exactly this expression that you see there. So that's your cheat method. That's your cheat method. Once we've got these brackets that we are having, we can simply equate each bracket to 0. Remember, we're now solving. So meaning to say either 2x plus 3 must be equal to 0 or 2x plus 1 must be equal to 0. So what are the values of x? 3 to the other side, it will be a minus 3. Then you divide by what? By 2. So that's minus 3 over 2. Or x is equal to 1 to the other side, it will be minus 1. Then you divide by what? By 2. So that's what you're going to have at the end. So you can write as minus 1,5 and minus 0,5, or just as fractions as they are. You can even just leave it that way. So these are the typical questions. So you see, your calculations, they will be just like this, smart like this. Then you'll be wondering, how is that possible? There is a factorization which has been done behind, like I was explaining before. That factorization, it can be any way that you understand. This is not the only method. There are so many methods, so many ways that you can actually do to factorize in that manner. So that is your cheat method, guys, as you can see. So I want you to do as many questions as you can. Just try to follow up the stages. The more you do these questions, 1, 2, 3 questions, you actually know that, okay, this is just going to be like this in each and every step. All right, let's consider question number 4, similar to what we had. This is 3x squared plus x minus 2 is equal to 0, like that. So like I said, we need to factorize this quadratic expression. So working with the factorization of our quadratic expression, we have got 3x squared plus x minus 2, where the coefficient of x squared is not 1. This is a 3. So using our cheat method, guys, we said we're going to take the 3 to the constant. We remove it, multiply to the constant, so that this will be a 1. So we're going to have x squared plus x. We multiply to the last term. So this is minus 6. Then you factorize as usual this part, x here, x here. What are the factors of minus 6? But when you add, you must get a positive 1. So we need factors of negative 6, two numbers, the products of negative 6. So you can use 3 and minus 2. 3 times minus 2, that's a minus 6. If we add 3 plus minus 2, that's a positive 1. So we've got a plus 3 and a minus 2. So like I said, bring back that number, because this answer is not our actual answer. So we have to bring back the 3 that we removed before. So we have to bring it back on x. Wherever there is x, we bring back the 3. Wherever there is x, we bring back the 3. Just like that. Just like that. Then we factorize wherever it is possible. In each bracket, look for any possible factors. The first bracket, we can see that 3 is common there. So we can factor out the 3. We remain with what? 3x divided by 3, that's x. 3 divided by 3, that's a positive 1. The second bracket, we do not have anything common. This is 3x minus 2. So take away this 3. Just like that. The remaining part here is your answer. In terms of the factorization, the remaining answer, the part of the brackets is exactly what we need here. Remember, we need to factorize. So in our factorization of this whole quadratic expression, the brackets that we're going to have at the end was going to be x plus 1 into 3x minus 2. That's equal to 0 because we are dealing with what? An equation. So that's it, guys. You have factorized. So the cheat method, that is where it is applied. You have factorized. So either x plus 1 must be equal to 0, or 3x minus 1 to the other side will give us a negative 1. Minus 2 to the other side will give us a positive 2. Then we divide by what? We divide by 3. So that is what we are going to obtain at the end as the possible values of x. So you just have to be very, very careful with your questions. The factorization depends with the way that you have been taught how to factorize any given quadratic expression. All right, so some of the questions, if you check like what we have on question number 5, they just need you to focus properly with the question. You can see that we do not have anything that is common that can be factorized there, but we can do so to 4 into 2x plus 1 plus 3 like this. So if we look properly, we can see that there is a need for us to expand the brackets first before we do any factorization. We can expand our brackets. So expanding the brackets, we've got this part where we need to distribute by minus 3. This bracket of x minus 1, minus 3 has to affect each and every term. We've got this bracket of 2x plus 1. The 4 has to affect each and every term before you collect the like terms. Before collecting of the like terms. So meaning to say we are going to have 3x squared minus 3 times x. That is minus 3x minus 3 and a minus 1. So minus minus, that is going to give us a positive, all right? So that's a positive 3. So this is equal to, we distribute in this bracket by 4. So 4 times 2, that is going to give us 8x. 4 times 1, which is 4, plus a 3. So 3 is not affected. So you have to consider the like terms. All right, let's work with the left-hand side. On the left-hand side, there is nothing that is common. But if you consider the right-hand side, we can add these numbers 4 and 3, which is going to give us a 7. 4 plus 3, that's a 7. We have a quadratic equation. As you can see, the highest exponent is 2. That's a quadratic equation. So having that in mind, it means we are supposed to form this equation in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to, remember, the format of a quadratic equation. One side must be equal to 0. So it means we are going to transpose these terms, 8x to the other side, the 7 to the other side of the equation. So meaning to say, we are going to have 3x squared, all right, 8x. On part of x there, it is going to be a minus. So it's minus 3x. The 7 to the other side becomes a negative. So it's 3 minus 7, which is going to give us what? A minus 4. That's equal to what? That's equal to, so we've removed all these terms to the other side of the equation because of what? The format there of our equation, quadratic equation. We are back to that format. So we are back to the factorization again as we had before. This is these brackets expanding. You're now back to the basic of your question. We are used to this. So I said in our factorization, 3x squared minus 11x minus 4, we're going to factorize, all right? Take out the 3, multiply to the constant. So what are you going to have? It's going to be x squared minus 11x. Remember, I said it's going to be 3 times minus 4 which is minus 12. Then from there, we can factorize. This will be x, this will be x, since we've got 1 here. So what are the products of the constant, which is minus 12? So we need the products of minus 12. When we add, we must get a negative 11. So that's minus 12 and 1. If you multiply this, that's minus 12. If we add, that's minus 11. 12 and minus 1, if you add, you're going to get a positive 11. We need a negative. So that's minus 12 and what? Minus 12 and 1. So you're going to have a minus 12 and a positive 1. Then what are we going to do? We bring back that number, the 3 that we removed before. We have to bring it back. Wherever we see x, remember it's affecting x squared. So it must affect wherever there's x. I'm going to put 3. Wherever there's x, I'm going to put 3. We factorize wherever it is possible. The first bracket, we can see that 3 is common. 3, this is minus 12. So you can factor out 3. 3x divided by 3, that's x. Minus 12 divided by 3, that's a minus 4. All right, into this bracket, 3x plus 1. All right, so this is what you're going to have, guys. Cancel these 3 so that we've got our 2 brackets. So that is what you're going to have from this factorization of that quadratic expression. You're going to have 2 brackets, x minus 4, and this bracket of what? And this bracket of 3x plus 1. That's equal to 0. Then obtain your values of x from there. So this is a factorization that you're doing separately. Here we just need the answers. They just need these brackets. From the brackets, you can even write your solution to say minus 4 to the other side becomes a positive 4. Or our x is going to be what? You take 1 to the other side, it becomes a minus 1. Then you're going to divide by what? You're going to divide by a 3. So x is going to be minus 1 over 3. We've got 2 possible solutions that we're going to obtain. Minus a third or x, which is 4. But you see now, the first things first there, expansion of brackets until we obtain our the normal quadratic equation, the one that we are using. Until we get that, we can apply our factorization, the one that you understand, any way that you understand in terms of your factorization. There can be another easier method that you do understand. Use that. You're still going to have the same answers, but the expansion part is supposed to be the same. All right, then there are questions like question number 6. In this case, we do not have any special type of factorization that we are going to use. Basics of our factorization, there are 2 terms there. There are 2 terms, and x is common, so you can simply factor out x. We talked about this from our recap of grade 10. So x is common there. X squared and x, that is going to give us x. We divide 5x and x, this is going to give us plus 5. That's equal to 0. One of these terms must be equal. As long as it's a product, guys, of 2 terms, x is a term. This bracket, we consider it as a term. So the product, when it is equal to 0, it means x must be equal to 0. Or we are going to have this bracket of x plus 5 also equal to 0. So meaning to say already there, we have got a solution already there. All right. Or I mean, the 5 to the other side will give us a minus. That will be 0 minus 5, which is minus 5. So these are the possible solutions that you could have obtained from there. So like I said, this type of a question is just a basic of your factorization from your grade 9, grade 8, grade 10. You had that on question number 7. These are just basics that you can use. X squared is equal to x. Never be tempted to divide by x. Take this x to the other side. Remember, one side must be equal to 0. So it is going to be x squared minus x. It was a positive. It will be minus. That's equal to 0. You factor out the x, which is common. They're just 2 terms. So just factor out your x. X squared divided by x, that's x. Minus x divided by x, that's minus 1, is equal to 0. So it's either one of these must be equal to 0. X must be equal to 0, or the x minus 1 must be equal to 0. So that's it. So from this other part, x is equal to what? Minus 1 to the other side of the equation will give you a positive 1. So x is 0 or x is a positive 1. So questions can be directly like that. In an exam, you can be given a basic question like that. As basic as it is, just be careful as you are to work out these typical questions. All right, considering question number 8, you are given, you apply the cheat method as we had, or any other way of your factorization. So this is what you have. So one of the sides must be equal to 0, remember? So take out the 3 to the other side of the equation. So that is going to be 2x squared minus 5x. 3 is going to give us a minus 3. That's equal to 0. It was a positive, so it is going to be a negative at the end. So using our cheat method, as I said before, we are going to consider the factorization on its own of the quadratic expression. So I'm going to take the 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. All right, so remember, as usual, take out the 2, multiply to the last term. So if you multiply by 2 here, we're going to have minus 6. So that's x squared minus 5x minus 6. We factorize as usual x and x here, since the coefficient of x squared is 1. Looking into the constant, which is our minus 6, and the minus 5, the middle term, which numbers are we going to use? The product of negative 6. But these two numbers, they're supposed to give you exactly a minus 5 if you add. So we've got minus 6 and 1. There's so many terms, guys. 6 and minus 1, minus 3 and 2, 3 and minus 2. But which part exactly, when you add, you must get a minus 5. That is minus 6 and 1. If you add this, you're going to get a minus 5. So that's we've got a minus 6 and a plus 1. Do not forget, bring back the 2 that you removed before here. You have to bring it back on x. You multiply this by 2, so that's 2x. You multiply this by 2, that's 2x. Factor out where possible. The first bracket, 2 is common. So you can factor out 2. 2x divided by 2, that's x. The second bracket, nothing is common. It's just going to rewrite as it is. So that's it. Answer to the factorization of this part of our quadratic expression. So meaning to say we're going to have x minus 3 into the bracket of 2x plus 1. That's equal to 0. You're done. With this factorization, guys, you can factorize as long as possible for you to factorize that quadratic expression. You can factorize it with this cheat method. So one of these brackets must be equal to 0, guys. So meaning to say x is going to be what? A positive 3, or x is going to be what? 1 to the other side gives us a negative 1. Then you're going to divide by 2. So these are your solution, x, which is equal to 3, or x, which is equal to a minus half, or a minus 0.5. So you can have it as a decimal. So guys, I think with this method, you just have to work as many questions as you can. If you consider question number 9, it is just a basic question where we just need to take the 10x to the other side so that one of these sides is equal to 0. So it is going to be x squared. 10x to the other side will give us negative 10x. Already there's a minus 24 there. That's equal to 0. So there we do not have this cheat method or basic, because this is what we are used to. The coefficient of x squared is already 1. So you're going to have x and x here. So what is it that you're going to do? Focus on the constant minus 24. Which two products? We multiply them, you get a minus 24. You add, you get a minus 10. So factors of minus 24, guys, there are so many. Minus 24 and 1. Is it 24 and minus 1? Is it minus 12 and 2? Is it 12 and minus 2? Is it a 6 and a minus 4? Minus 6 and 4? So many factors. Talk of minus 8 and all these. You multiply, you get a minus 24. But we just need, where we add, we must get a negative 10. When we add, we are going to get a negative 10. That's on minus 12 and what? Minus 12 and 2. If you add these two, you're going to get a minus 10. So that's minus 12 and a plus 2. So just like that. So from there, we can have our x values, guys. Equating each bracket to 0. It means x is going to be what? Minus 12 to the other side will give us a positive 12. Or x is equal to a plus 2 to the other side is going to give us what? A minus 2. So these are the possible values of x that we are going to have on this one. So as you can see, when it is like this, it will be a direct question, because already the coefficient of x squared is 1. Exam questions can be like that. They can give you the coefficient of x squared being 1. It is not always where it is going to be a 2 or 3, but they can give you that. On number 10, we've got a similar question, but this time x plus 3 into this is not a 0. So we cannot say x plus 3 is equal to 6, or x minus 2 is equal to 6. No, that one is impossible. So the only way is to expand these brackets, formulate the quadratic equation that we are used, which is of the form of ax squared plus bx plus c is equal. You have to formulate this. So that there is a need for you to, but if there was a 0 there, no, we're just going to equate, guys. We're just going to find our x there. But because of that number that we're given, which is not a 0, there's no way. We have to expand this bracket. All right. So by the FOIL method, remember, guys, x is going to be used. Expand everything in the second bracket. So that's x times x, which is x squared, x and minus 2. That's minus 2x. We are done with x. We move on to the plus 3. 3 multiply x. We are done with this. We move on to the other one. 3 and minus 2. That is going to give us a minus 6. That's equal to a positive 6. All right. We are still our expression. So this is going to give us x squared. If we add these two, minus 2 plus 3, that's a positive 1 there. So that's positive x minus 6 is equal to 6. Remember, we need a 0 there on one side of the equation. So what are you going to do? Take the 6 to the other side of the equation. It will be a minus 6 there. So that will be x squared plus x minus 6 minus 6. That's a minus 12, which is equal to 0. So as we have this equation now, we can simply direct because the coefficient of x squared is 1. So we're just going to have x here, another x here. So from this minus 12, what are the products of minus 12? When you add, you must get a positive 1. All right, so we've got minus 4 and 3. We've got 4 and minus 3, which is nearer to 1. So when you add 4 and minus 3, these ones will give you a positive 1. So that's the one that we want, a positive 4 and a minus 3. So meaning to say x is equal to what? From a positive 4, take it to the other side, it is going to give you a negative 4, or x is equal to a minus, to the other side is going to give you a positive 3. So these are the possible values of x that you are going to have at the end. So like I said, revision is all that you are going to need. Revision, it is all that you are going to actually need. Work out as many questions as you can. It is important that you do work out as many questions in this revision in terms of the question, the presentation of the questions, how are they given? It is important that you are very, very careful in terms of the presentation. All right, let's consider question 11. We can see a similar question, x plus 2 into x minus 5 plus 6. That's equal to 0 like this. In this question that we are seeing here, we can tell that there is a 0 there, but be very careful because these are not two brackets that we are just given only. There is a number which has been added. If we were not having that number, we are not going to expand these brackets. We're just going to equate. This one is equal to 0. This one is equal to 0. But having this number being added, it is not different like it was like this. X plus 2 into x minus 5. The 6 there, it will be 4. So you see there was a need of you expanding. Then you take the negative 6 to the other side of the equation. But in this case, they've already taken that negative 6 to the other side of the equation. That is what they only did in this case. So expansion of brackets still has to happen. Expansion of brackets still has to happen before solving. So that is x and x. Remember this? We're going to have x squared. The x to the minus 5, it is going to give us minus 5x. All right, we move on to the 2 and the x. So 2 times x, this is going to give us a positive 2. That's positive 2x. A 2 and a minus 5, that is going to give us a negative 10. 2 times minus 5, that's a negative 10 plus a 6, which we are given already. There's a 6 there. That's equal to 0. So we collect our like terms. We're going to have x squared minus 5x and these 2x, the minus 10 and the 6. So we've got like terms that we are given from this expression. So we have to consider the minus 5x, all right? Then we have to consider also the constants, the minus 10 and the 6 here. These are also like terms to be considered there. All right, so let us see what are we going to have. Minus 5 plus 2, that's a minus 3. So we're going to have minus 3x minus 10 plus 6, that is going to give us a negative 4. That's equal to 0, guys. As we can see, we are back to our basics of our factorization. We have got the coefficient of x squared as 1. So we are simply going to have x and x here. So let us consider minus 4, guys. Minus 4 as our constant. We have the products that when you multiply, you get minus 4, but when you add, you must get a negative 3. Yes, minus 4 and 1, 4 and minus 1. Which one? When you add, you must get a negative 3. That's a minus 4 and minus 1. So we've got a minus 4 and a plus 1. I mean, minus 4 and a plus 1. So meaning to say, it's going to give you a positive, or it's going to give us a negative 1. So that's a negative 1 there. So these are the possible values of x that we can actually have in this equation. So as you can see, there was a need for you to expand the brackets first. Having the format of our quadratic equation, we factorize from there. This is how it can be. Like in some cases, you see that you have to expand, you're forced to expand the brackets that you're given. Same situation as what we are given on number 12. Just need to factorize them. You just need to expand the brackets. I mean, we are given x squared minus 6x, so expand the brackets. So we're going to have x squared minus 6x, then which is equal to 5. So there we have to distribute this, okay, 5 into this bracket. So it's 5 into 1 minus x. Multiply each and every term by 5. So that's 5 times 1, which is 5. 5 times minus 2, which is minus 10x. So collecting these terms to form the quadratic equation, like I said, ax squared plus bx plus c must be equal to 0. So we are going to have x squared. Take the minus 10 to the other side of the equation. The moment it crosses the equal sign, it becomes a plus. It's going to give us a 4. So that's a positive 4x there. So that's 4x. You take the 5 to the other side of the equation, it becomes a negative 5. So that's a negative 5 equal to 0. Once we're at this stage, guys, factorize, as you can see, the coefficient of x squared is 1. So direct factorization there can be used. This is x, this is x. So what are the products there of minus 5, which will add up to a positive 4? Plus 5 and 1. Is it 5 and minus 1? When you add, you must get a positive 4. So that is 5 and what? 5 and minus 1. If you add these two, you're going to get a positive 4. So that's positive 5 minus 1. So meaning to say at the end, x will be equal to what? From this solving, x will be equal to plus 5 will give us a negative 5. Or our x is going to be minus 1 to the other side, which is going to give us what? A positive 1. So we are going to have our x as minus 5 or our x as a positive 1. So these equations, guys, they depend with what you are given. The format, if you know your format of the equation, knowing the format, it'll help you. That is awkward in terms of the presentation. But as you know the format, you have to bring back that format that you are used to. And this time, 4x squared plus 11x plus 6. As we can see, the coefficient of x squared this time is not 1. So we are back to our cheat method, or any way that you know your factorization, guys. Okay, so meaning to say we're going to apply our cheat method. Just let us just factorize here. This was 4x squared plus 11x plus 6. So like I said, we're going to take out this 4, multiply it to the constant. Remember your method. Do not forget your method. Plus 11x. So this is times 4 here. 6 times 4, that's 24. So this is going to give us 24 there. All right. So with this, we are going to factorize now 2 brackets, as we are to consider that the coefficient of x squared is 1. So you're going to have x here, another x here. What are the products of 24? But when you add, you must get 11. Products of 24, that's 8 and 3. 8 times 3. There's so many products, but we need, when we add, you must get 11. So because of time, I'm just going to rush, guys. 8 and 3 there. Then you add 8 plus 3, that's what? 11. So meaning to say we've got plus 8 and plus 3. Remember what I said? You bring back the number that you removed here. Bring back in place of x. So you're going to bring back 4. You put the 4 here in place of x. You put the 4 here in place of x. Then factorize where possible. factorize. First bracket, 4 is common. We can factor out 4. 4 divided by 4, that is going to be x. 8 divided by 4, which is 2. The remaining bracket, there is nothing there which is common. So it's just going to remain as 4x plus 3. So this is what we have, guys. Remove that 4. The remaining part is your answer. These 4x plus 3 and 4x. This is it. That's your cheat method. You just have to cheat that way. You're done. You've factorized with this. It is just a matter of practicing. Yeah, practicing. The more you do the practice, the more it's okay. This is just a basic method. It's just like a normal method to answer any question. So that's it, guys. One bracket must be equal to 0. So it's either we are going to have x plus 2 being equal to 0 or 4x plus 3 being equal to 0. That's x is equal to minus 2, or x is going to be what? 3 to the other side will give you a minus 3. Then you're going to divide by a 4. So that's minus 3 over 4 or a minus 2. So these are the possible values of x that you are going to obtain. So that's it. Let's check another part. I don't know, because of time, if I'm going to be able to talk about another method here. But I explained the other method in terms of when I was making other videos. So you can even watch those videos so that you can just learn. This cheat method, I never talked about it. That's why I'm keeping much on it so that we do not have confusions. Let me just focus on that. Then we're going to talk of another method in another class. All right. So this is it, guys. Let's have number 14 we are given. So these are 2x minus 3, minus 3. All right, this is equal to 9. So as we saw, guys, we have to get rid of the brackets before, which is not a 0. So there's a need for you to expand the brackets. So remember your FOIL method. Start with the 2, multiply second bracket. So that's 2x and 4x, which is going to give you 8x squared. The 2x and the 3 is going to give you negative 6. So that's negative 6x. We have negative 3 into this bracket, negative 3 and 4. That is going to give us negative 12x. We do the same thing, negative 3 and negative 3 at the end. That is going to give us a positive 9. All right. And this is, we are going to have 8x squared minus 6 minus 12. This is going to give us minus 18. So that's minus 18x plus 9 equal to 9. So you can take this 9 to the other side of the equation. The 9 to the other side, it will be a minus. So that's 9 minus 9, which is a 0 there. 9 minus 9, guys. That's 9 minus 9. So you're going to have 8x squared in this case, minus 18x, because this one gave us a 0. 9 minus 9. So it is equal to what? It is equal to 0. So as you can see there, we do not have any special type of factorization. We can just consider what is common between these two terms. Between 8 and 18, do we have a common factor there? The highest number that we can factor there is going to be 2. All right? Then between x squared and x, so it's going to be x. So you factor out 2x. 8 divided by 2, that's 4. X squared and x is going to be divided by 2. So minus 18 divided by 2 is going to give us negative 9. X and x is going to cancel. That's equal to a 0 like that. So remember your 0 concept. One of these brackets must be equal to one of these terms. So it's either 2x must be equal to 0 or the remaining bracket must be equal to 0. That is what you must be equal to 0. 4x minus 9 must be equal to 0. So let's divide here by 2 to obtain the x value. So x is equal to 0. Or our x is going to be what? Negative 9 to the other side is going to give us a positive 9. Then we divide by what? We divide by 4. So it is going to be positive 9 over 4 that we are going to have at the end. So questions can be of this nature, that you will see that terms, they need, when you expand that, like what we saw, the expansion. The expansion is the most important part that we are talking about, the expansion of the brackets. Expand your brackets. After expanding the brackets, collect the terms that we are seeing that are common, that we are seeing. So you can have this as a fraction, 9 over 4. You can have it as a decimal, 2.25, whatever way that you want to present your answers as. After you've formed the quadratic equation, remember to factorize in the basic way that you actually understand. So this is it, guys. Questions can be like that. We just have to be very, very extra careful is equal to 13x. All right, so let's figure out how are we going to factorize this one, because it's a factorization method, remember? So definitely one way or the other, factorization has to be done. So for expanding only a single number outside of the bracket, so we can distribute that number into this bracket in each and every term. So every term is going to be multiplied by 6. 6 times x squared, that's 6x squared, 6 and 1, that is going to be plus 6, which is equal to 13x. So let us formulate our quadratic equation the way that we are used to. Ax squared plus bx plus c must be equal to 0. So meaning to say we're going to take the 13x to the other side of the equation. 13 to the other side gives us a negative. So that's negative 13x. Already there was a plus 6, which we had. So that's plus 6 is equal to 0. We just wanted to have this concept to say one of these sides must be equal to 0. Having the coefficient of x squared, as we can see, it is not 1 as we are used to. So we are going back to our cheat method. So this is 6x squared minus 13x plus 6. Take this, like I said before, remove that 6, take it to the other side. Take it to the constant. It means going to minus 13x, 6 times 6. That was going to give us 36. Okay, so if you multiply, that's 36. So we have to factorize this, guys. We have factors of 36. But these factors, they add up to minus 13. Two numbers, you multiply them, you must get a positive 36. A positive 36, as we can see. This is positive 36. So let us do this, guys. Remember, this is a trial and error. One of these numbers must be, both numbers must be negative. So let's think of 9 and 4. If you multiply this, you've got to have 36. If you add, you get a positive 13. So to have a negative 13, let's have negative 9 and negative 4. So if you multiply this, you're going to have positive 36. If you add this, you're going to have a negative 13 minus 9 minus 4. That's a negative 13. So that's we've got minus 9 and a minus 4. Do not forget, like I said, to bring back the number that you removed before. The 6 that we removed, bring it back into this bracket. So we're going to bring the 6 here, bring the 6 here. We factorize where possible in these two brackets. Is it possible to factorize the first bracket? Yes, between 6x and 3 and 9, 3 is common. So you can factor out 3. Thus, we are going to have 6 divided by 3, which is 2x, minus 9 divided by 3, that is going to give us minus 3. The second bracket also, we've got something that is common there between 6 and 4. 2 is common. So 6 divided by 2, that is going to give us 3x. Minus 4 divided by 2 is going to give us minus 2. So remember what I said for your solution. They're not part of our answer, the ones that we factor out. What is our solution of these are the brackets. The brackets. So we're going to have 2x minus 3. Another bracket is going to be what? 3x minus 2. Just like that. This is equal to 0. So we have used our factorization. Factorization has played a role. To have these two brackets is the factorization part. It is the factorization part, which you can have in any way. What is important is for you to have these. Plus 3 to the other side will be a positive 3. Then you divide by the 2. Or x is going to be minus 2 to the other side will be a positive 2. Then you divide by what? You divide by 3. So our x is going to be 3 over 2 or 2 over 3. These are the possible solutions that we can actually have from this one. So like I said, the questions, they differ. They do differ in terms of presentation, but at the end, you see that is just a similar way of answering these questions, just a similar way that you are using through them, way of answering. Number 16, also similar to what we had. This is 2x plus 3 into 2x minus 5 into 2x minus 5, which is equal to 9. So you can see that there's a number there, which is 9. So there's a need for you to expand brackets. Otherwise, we could have just equated to 0 if there was a 0 there. So we are forced by FOIL method, 2x multiply the 2x, that is going to give us 4x squared. 2x multiplies the negative 5, that is going to give us negative 10. So that's negative 10x. 2 times 5, that's negative 10x. We're done with this one. We move on to the 3. Multiplies the x. This is 3 times 2, which is 6. So you're going to have 6x. The 3 and the minus 5. 3 times minus 5, which is minus 15. So that's minus 15, which is equal to 9. All right, so let's have this 4x squared. Collect our like terms from the left-hand side of our equation, the negative 10 and the positive 6. That was going to give us a negative 4. All right, negative 10 plus 6, that's negative 4x. All right, minus 15 is equal to 9. You can even take this 9 to the other side. Now that is going to be positive 9 is going to give us a negative 9. So we've got minus 15 minus 9, which is minus 24. So that was going to give us 4x squared minus 4x. All right, that's minus 4x. You take this one to the other side, it gives you a minus 24. That's equal to 0 like this. Yes, the coefficient of x squared is not a 1. We've got a number there, which is a 4. But looking into this equation, we can see that it is very, very different from what we had in the previous questions. We were given numbers like the coefficient is a 3. There was nothing that we can consider to be common in these numbers that we are given. But the 4 is common. We can factor out the 4, the 4, the 4, the 4. So instead of us having those factorization, the cheat method that we had, we can simply divide by 4 because it's an equation. It's not an expression that we're dealing with. So simply divide by 4. So we can reduce by that 4. All right. So this and this are going to cancel. We have got x squared, 4, and this one is going to cancel. That's minus 1x. Minus 24 divided by 4, which is going to give us a negative 6. That's 0 divided by 4, which is going to give us a 0. That is where we are. That is where we are. And we can see that the coefficient of x squared is just a 1. This is the basic of our factorization because the coefficient of x squared is what? Is 1. So we are going to have 2 brackets equal to 0 like that. So remember this, x here, x minus 6. 2 numbers you multiply to give you, they must give you minus 6. You add the numbers, you must get a negative 1. Do we have such products of minus 6? We've got minus 6 and 1, 6 and minus 1, minus 3 and 2, 3 and minus 2. All these are products of minus 6. But which part, when you add, you must get a negative 1. When you add, you must get a negative 1. That's minus 3 and 1, minus 3 and 2. So we've got minus 3 and a plus 2. So meaning to say from each bracket, we equate it to 0. X is going to be what? Minus 3 is going to be 2 to the other side of the equation is going to give us a negative 2. So these are the possible solutions of x. X can be equal to 3 or x can be equal to minus 2. But the factorization had to happen after expanding brackets and collecting the terms to formulate the basic of our quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to. This is what you need first. Then you consider your factorization after that. So if there is any other way or any other factorization, if you're in the right direction, as you are making your questions, and also to choose the method which is easier for you as you are dealing with your factorization, because there are so many different methods that you had that you can work with. So if there is time for you to look for another way, another method, do that. I've done also other methods from the question papers and other questions on factorization. So if you go through that, you can also opt for any other way that you can use, as long it is by what? Factorization method. So this is what we had, guys, in this class. Let us continue to revise as we are preparing ourselves for the exams which are ahead of time. Till we meet again.